So Roy, I would actually like to say he fancies himself a modern day cowboy, but really he's not a cowboy. He's more of a city slicker who is in this Western world or this, South Dakota cowboy world. But really he's more of a businessman and a hustler. So I think he fancies himself more of a cowboy. He came from the big city and is living in this Western themed world in dealing with, artifacts. And he's really just trying to make a buck. So he thinks he's a cowboy more than he really is. And he dresses the part, but really he's not. He's a city guy. So that's kind of fun to play. It's about greed, money, the American dream, trying to make a buck, trying to, just sort of hustle. And I feel like everybody in this story is all trying to have their come up. And it's a matter of who's going to get it. Tony's very clear about what he wants, which is good. I like that when a director knows what they want and doesn't leave too much up to the actor. He does allow me to improv a little bit, but when I go too far off the script, he'll steer me back to where it needs to be. It's a badass movie, kind of like a modern Cowboys and Indians, but not really. But in that world, look at the outfits, the cast. From Sydney Sweeney to Paul Hauser to Eric Dane, just an amazing cast. And the world, look, for me as a movie fan, I want to be transported to another world for 2 hours or 90 minutes or however long whatever movie length it is. And that's what this movie feels like to me, even in reading it. You're transported to this South Dakota world filled with the Lakota tribe and these shady characters in town. And it's like a fun, badass movie that it's going to have a kick-ass soundtrack and look beautiful. And it's the kind of movie that I know I'd want to watch. Whenever you work on a film, it's kind of like summer camp. I always say it's like you basically go to camp with everyone for a month. You form these really deep bonds, and then it's over. So it's always sort of a bittersweet thing because you know that it's a finite amount of time you have with everybody. But in the past, for me, working on films, I've formed some amazing friendships and relationships. So every time it's a different learning experience, getting to work with cool, different, new people. And so far, my experience on this one has been that it's a very nice, tight run ship with really cool people.
What really appealed to me about the script was, the native aspect, the traditions, returning those relics, those artifacts to the native people, in a respectful manner, but also highlighting that, there's always a balance, an angel and demon on each side, the good and the bad. So I play Hank Spears in this film, and what really appealed to me about Hank was his demeanor, his I guess how some native men, it shows there's balance. The Res Dogs is out there, and there's a lot of comedy and humor, and there is that with the native community, which I don't think is seen. But then there's also the stone face, the stoic Indian, the guy that doesn't think anything's funny and not everything's a joke. And I think that's kind of who I am. To me, Zahn's one of the legends and icons in the native community. He's done a lot for the people, and I've just been really lucky and blessed to try to be a sponge around him, try to absorb as much knowledge from him as I possibly can. Any second I can get with that guy, I'm on it. So I could ride a horse before I could walk. And I was excited when I found out, I'm going to be on a horse for this. So, and Cal is going to be with me. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think we're definitely going to have some fun. There's going to be a bunch of characters just coming together, and they're all going to collide, and it's going to be this big explosion, and it's super exciting, like to see these different people, different auras, different energies, different personalities, and different motives all coming together, and they're going to clash, and it's going to be an explosion.
When I read it, I thought, wow, this is so poetic, this story. The dialogue was so poetic. Tony's such a terrific writer. I felt like, I really got the feeling that it was somewhat of a cross between True Romance and No Country for Old Men. And that's good company to be in. But the story was so compelling. so it wasn't a hard sell for me. I played Dylan McIntosh, and what appealed to me about Dylan is, at face value, he's the bad guy. But if you look a little deeper, he's not so much of a bad guy. I mean, he's a murderous scoundrel, but, he has some good qualities. I think he's a victim of circumstance and just desperate. Halsey's great. This is her first film. She's doing a terrific job. I like her as an actress. Sydney and I are pretty tight, and she's just a super talented pro, super precocious. Gavin's fantastic. He's got such a strong presence. For somebody who's 12 years old to have that is also something that's somewhat rare. Paul Walter Hauser's hilarious, and I'm proud to call him a friend. Tony Tost is, I think, an inventive director. He's a visual filmmaker. He's obviously a fantastic writer, but he's well-versed in cinema and uses the camera a lot to tell the story. Bang-up heist flick that's a cross between True Romance and No Country for Old Men. And at the center of the project is an invaluable artifact that everybody wants, and people will do whatever they need to do to get it. Westerns are part of the DNA of Hollywood and cinema. And some of the greatest cinematic efforts were from the Western world.
What appealed to me the most was Tony's sensibility, his tone to the script. It brought back a lot of memories of films that I grew up with back in the 70s, and just had a nice Midwestern kind of grit to it, along with some danger. It just reminded me of the old school films like Badlands and Country for Old Men and films like that. So I play the character Ghost Eye, and Ghost Eye, what appealed to me was, he was kind of based on some of the heroes that I grew up with within my culture. Russell Means, Dennis Banks. He's the leader of a social movement called the Red Thunder Society, which basically is protecting his culture and pressing on social issues that are facing his people. So what appealed to me was, I based it on those heroes that I had growing up, which was, people of the American Indian movement. So it was a pleasure to see that Tony wrote about some of those heroes that I had.
I kind of had the image of Cal walking around, wanting to go from one world into the Lakota world in my head for a while, for like a year, and I didn't know what to do with it. Cal is oddly autobiographical. I share some similarities with him growing up in a trailer, in rural America. I grew up next to the Muckleshoot Indian Reservation and grew up watching Westerns. So there's elements there. And so it kind of started in that place and trying to figure out a story for him and wanting to kind of, look at the Western and the heritage of the American West. So I kind of wanted to do a Western where we gradually realize that the white dudes aren't necessarily the star of the show. In a way, it's the women, the children, and the Lakota characters that are really kind of our focus, but have that emerge gradually. I wanted to work with Zahn McClarnon again, who plays Ghost Eye, because I wrote for him, worked with him on Longmire, and he's just one of my favorite actors, and I was just kind of desperate to work with him again. Some of my influences are obvious, like, Tarantino and the Coen brothers and Mark McDonagh and lots of 70s films, but that's kind of... Those were kind of the inspirations, but there wasn't like one exact film that I was trying to do my version of. It's a little bit of a medley. I guess in a way I was wanting to do an old school ensemble film, like Robert Altman's films in the 70s, or also a director who I love named Michael Ritchie, who did The Bad News Bears, which is my favorite movie ever. This is not like Bad News Bears, but he did a movie called Smile, which is about small town California around a beauty pageant, and it was an ensemble film. And then 90s has some great ensemble films from Paul Thomas Anderson and stuff. So I was these were all the kind of pictures that got me real excited about film. So I kind of wanted to return in my first film to the kind of films that made me really excited about cinema. And so like the 70s ensemble films and the 90s ensemble films were all in play.
I would say Americana is a neo-Western crime thriller about a young boy who believes himself to be the reincarnation of Sitting Bull. And between him and a cast of local characters around him, everyone is after this really prestigious Native American artifact, a Lakota ghost shirt. And the movie is an unfolding of all of those parties trying to get the ghost shirt. What's really fun about casting a movie like this is there were so many roles. Because of Tony's writing, each of the roles was character-driven and really specific. I think we were the first movie to cast Sydney Sweeney after White Lotus. You know, we both saw the show, and I called Tony and I said, you got to watch the show. I think this is our Penny Joe. Paul Walter Hauser is someone that I had been dying to work with for literally years. I don't think he is who you would have expected to see on the page. I really love unexpected casting choices. Somebody that you wouldn't believe to be in the world, or you wouldn't believe to be in this set of circumstances. And so after that, you know, we did a search for Cal, for the boy, and it was amazing that we found Gavin, pure stroke of luck. And then the rest of the cast, you know, Simon Rex I had worked with on Red Rocket, and then again, similarly, Eric Dane and Toby Huss, these were all sort of actors that Tony and I, even Harriet Sansom Harris, you know, we had seen her in that one scene in Licorice Pizza, and we're like, we have to have her to play Sydney's mom. It was sort of a compilation of people that we had seen and remembered really sort of specifically from other work and agreed on wanting to put in the movie. The movie takes place in North Dakota, and we shot it in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But it was really important for Tony for it to feel like it was taking place in the middle of the country somewhere. And I think he achieved that. And he really wanted to make something that audiences outside of just New York and LA could really see themselves in. The tagline of the movie now is like, welcome to the New West. And so I think there is sort of a bit of a cultural capitalist commentary that is an undertone of the film. Frankly, how we've robbed the indigenous of what was theirs. But I think at the core, the movie really is about people and connections and the importance of those connections. What I really hope people will take from Americana is, well, I hope they just have a good time. It is a fun ride, and I think that is in short supply for movies, especially in theaters nowadays. The emotional connections of the movie are really profound, and I think people will be reminded of the importance of real family and community, and how incredible it is to make a connection with a stranger, but at the same time, I think they're going to laugh, and I think they're going to have a lot of fun and sort of be gripping their seats at certain points. And for me, that ride, I'm excited for people to enjoy it.
This movie reminds me of a lot of movies I love, like Pulp Fiction or Fargo. And so when I read the screenplay, I thought, well, this is just like the next iteration of those types of movies that are equal parts gruesome and heartfelt and have these kind of quirky, interesting, memorable ensemble casts that I would get to be a part of. It's a story of thematic elements ranging from the desire to not be alone, to the desire of having or understanding family, to the desire of wanting to make your dreams come true and maybe doing something really unethical to get your dreams and your desires met. It's really a film about thematic elements. I don't see it as a natural arc of story. It's all these multiple stories that are colliding and kind of equal parts serving one another and getting in each other's way, as we see throughout the messy interactions of all these characters. Lefty Ledbetter is a really sweet guy who has a lot to give and wants to give that to a woman or a family or something. But I think he's, like most people, probably a victim of social awkwardness, a victim of maybe not fitting in the era he was born, and sort of is destined to become this kind of sweet old man who's alone. On that journey, when I play him, he runs into Penny Jo Poplin, played by Sydney Sweeney, and thus sparks the real moment for him to actually have a chance at happiness and to advance beyond the cold, lonely confines of his life. I like all these actors, everything I've seen them in. Halsey, obviously, I hadn't seen in a film, but working with her has just been incredible. She's like, I think of Mary Steenburgen when she did Going South with Jack Nicholson. It was her first film and she went toe-to-toe with Jack. That's what Halsey reminds me of, somebody who is very undeterred and unafraid. And if she is, she hides it well because she's doing a tremendous job. Sydney Sweeney is a dream dance partner when it comes to acting. She's so much more confident than I am and so assured of herself in such a healthy manner. And she's one of those actors that because she's younger than me, I want to give her advice until she starts talking and I realize I'm probably going to be asking advice. So that's been very humbling, but fun and wonderful. And yeah, I love Eric Dane and Simon Rex. And I've been a fan of people like Zahn and Toby Huss for years. So this is the kind of cast that I would get excited to watch. So to be in it is really cool. I would describe this movie as, this is like a fun, memorable sort of scene-eating movie that has all these memorable, distinct characters played by actors who are having really great moments, like Eric Dane with Euphoria and Sydney with everything she's doing, and Halsey transitioning to acting, me and Simon Rex having a Red Rocket and a Richard Jewell. It's like all these actors are coming together in a really unique moment in their careers, and the fact that we have a screenplay with the prowess and creativity of Tony Tost's words, you're not going to want to miss this thing, I don't think. There's so much I could say about Tony Tost as a dude and as a director, but and all of it good. But just the takeaways I have from working with Tony have been he knows what he wants in a really healthy way. It isn't like a dictator. It's just this really creative mind that you respect well enough to, see it through to the end, to really ignore your own desires and say, what does Tony want for the world he's created? I compare Tony's directing style to the confidence I had working with Clint Eastwood, and how Eastwood just kind of has an easy way of going about it. There's no shouting. There's just a lot of whispering and touches on the shoulder. Tony has a gentle approach the way Eastwood does, and Tony has the confidence and sense of fun that Spike Lee and Craig Gillespie have. So, for me, it's like a dream director who lets you do your thing and trusts you, but also knows exactly what they want, what they've preordained.
I grew up in a trailer, kind of like Cal's trailer. I had a mom a little bit like Cal's mom, traumatized teenage single mother. I was kind of a weird loner kid, watched a lot of Westerns. I was just drawn to this little, violent scenario that had some autobiographical juice to it. And then I just kind of then the rest of the story kind of emerged with me trying to make a bigger story in which that kind of made sense. And so that was really kind of the seed. And then I just kind of started populating this world with other characters, some drawn from my life, some inspired by Western archetypes that I was wanting to update. And then it just kind of took on a life of its own. I grew up in rural Washington State, kind of at the base of Mount Rainier, an abandoned mining town, and about a couple hundred people, and very close to the Muckleshoot Indian Reservation. So I think that border space, that's kind of evocative of old Westerns, but it's in the modern world. It's just something I'm drawn to. I worked on a TV show called Lone Miner for 5 seasons that's kind of set in a similar environment, and then I returned to it here, and yeah, I just find that implicit culture clash there, and then just the mythology of the West and the history of the West in the modern world. There's just a lot there to mine, and so that's definitely something I drew upon. It's in essence a priceless Native American artifact called Ghost Shirt has fallen into the black market, and When it's stolen, it creates a chain reaction where like a dozen different people are now all in pursuit of this priceless artifact, and they all kind of converge into a kind of a showdown over who's going to get ownership of it. I describe it as a country crime film that turns into a weird Western. None of these characters are quite 100% at home where they are, and they're trying to locate their proper role in this version of the West that in some ways resembles the mythic cultural West and the historical West, but now is very different now. And so that's probably the commonality between all these characters. I mean, overall, in terms of the cast, I think that's the best thing about the movie is the cast and the performances as these characters. So if you're gonna, take the time to watch the movie, I think that's the big appeal. Like Sydney Sweeney in a new role, or see Halsey carry a pretty substantial role in this movie, or Paul Walter Hauser in a way you haven't quite seen him. I wanted to make a movie from blue-collar America where the primary audience is kind of like working people of any stripe. Like the ideal audience for me is someone who just got off their shift, either goes to the movie theater or comes home, opens up a beer. Like I've heard this movie is kind of entertaining, strange, and puts it on, and it speaks. It has characters that you could see in small town America. It doesn't look down on blue-collar, small-town life. It's just an entertaining kind of wild story told in that world. I think people can expect kind of an old-school movie. Like it's got a really cool cast. You don't really know what's going to happen next. It's hopefully a whole bunch of characters that you're intrigued by, that you care about, that you have feelings for, that are entertaining. It's a movie where you can really cheer for unexpected outcomes, and you can kind of also, I think it evokes emotions. It's funny in a weird way, and yeah, it's just like an old school movie, but with some fresh twists on it.
Tony Tost contacted me. I've worked with him before on Longmire, so he contacted me and wanted my advice on the native stuff that he wanted to put in the show. So he got a hold of me early while he was writing the script, and that's how I got involved with it. Well, it's important to accurately show our native culture, not how it used to be, where it was just the white man showing what they thought native culture was. Rather, it's more important to bring in native consultants and show how we are actually, and our culture, because we're beautiful people. We have a beautiful culture. And we're very artistic. It's within it's just innate within us. We're artistic people. And so I'm really grateful that Tony's open to that. From the beginning, from visiting with him on the script from the beginning, he's open to making sure that he wanted to get it right. So, and that's, it's kind of a theme now a lot in filmmaking. Major motion pictures, television shows, they're looking to native consultants and bringing them in to make sure that we portray our people the correct way, appropriate way. There's a big movement going on in Indian country right now, and there are more and more native youth that are getting into professional production. I think with social media like Facebook, TikTok, those type of things, there's a lot that are becoming content creators. So it's important for me even to do workshops and seminars for youth that are getting into production and want to become more professional content creators, because we have a culture that is beautiful and is still strong, and it's getting stronger all the time. And to portray that in the correct and appropriate ways, it's important to me. In a time when there was a systematic attempt of genocide for our people, this ghost dance religion was a way of bringing hope back to the people, and knowing that we'll still hold on to our traditions and our culture. And because of that, the United States government and the cavalry came in and wiped them out. But for me, I see it as those prayers that they said, they weren't said in vain. Our prayers don't get answered right away. It's been approximately 7 generations since that ghost dance was wiped out, but it's come back. That's the way that I see it. You know, that Ghost Dance shirt is here. It's in this film. And what it represents is those prayers. That way of life is still here among us. And so that our children, our grandchildren can still hold on to those beautiful cultural ways that teach our values and our principles that we can live by, loving our family, taking care of ourselves holistically, physically, emotionally, mentally, as well as spiritually. Just living a good, solid, holistic life in contemporary society and still hold on to those values. There are more and more young natives that are getting into professional production. And any time that consultants or active people that are working in the industry can encourage them, the better. Because the more we have of our own people that know about these values and principles and want to continue them on to inspire and to encourage others, this production can be a way of life. It can be a career for them where they can travel, they meet amazing people like our crew. I mean, everybody's amazing. They're all, and they all work together. You know, a production to me can be a microcosm to how a community can be, where everybody has their place, everybody can work together. And when they accomplish that, they can look back and say, yeah, that's amazing. That's something we made right there. It's something tangible there that we can look back and be proud of.
2 years ago, I got sent a script. It was the most phenomenal script I'd ever read in my life. I had really been wanting to start acting, but I hadn't found the correct project that I thought, would be the best one to jump into. The character I related to the most was Mandy, so I was super delighted to find out that Mandy was exactly the character that Tony, the writer and director, had in mind for me. When I started talking to him, I said, I've never acted before. Don't you want me to audition? Aren't you nervous I'm going to be terrible and I'm going to suck? What if I ruin this whole thing? And he was like, no, I have faith in you. It's going to be awesome. So I was the first actor attached to the movie, and I was so nervous and so excited to see how the cast is going to develop, who I was going to be acting with. Mandy is a really complex character, which is something I really like about her. Through the process of kind of figuring out who she is, I went through a lot of ideas. Is she a villain? Is she not a villain? Is she a victim? Is she not a victim? She grew up in a place that had very little hope for someone like her. She lives under this protective mask. My son is 7 months old, and he's here on set with me. And so I learned how to connect with Mandy in a way that I didn't even think was possible when I had initially read the script. So it's very full circle. Sydney's one of my best friends in real life. We've worked together before. She acted in my music video for one of my songs, Graveyard, a couple years ago. That was the first time that we hung out. We found we were mutual fans of each other. She was a fan of my music. I was a fan of her work. It's really awesome to be friends with someone that you're a fan of, and it's even better to get to work with that person. She's so sweet. She's so professional. She was so awesome and gracious to me. I asked her a lot of questions about acting since this was my first movie, and she answered all of them and, really helped me feel more calm. But also as a friend and as a fan, it was awesome to watch her in action and to be like, this is why I love you. You're so good at this. And it was really cool to see and be a part of. Gavin is, first of all, just a star. He is so intelligent and kind and wise and special, and I felt like I fell in love with him right away, which made it a lot easier for me as Mandy, to feel emotionally compelled towards Cal, because I was towards Gavin every single day. I remember in our first rehearsal, I said to him, I was like, listen, man, you're the pro. You've done this a million times. I've never done this before. I was like, and Cal is kind of, he's kind of got to be the strong one and the mature one, because Mandy's a little immature, and, I was like, that's kind of what it's like in real life. You're the boss, and you have to show me what to do. Paul is incredible. He is so funny, so smart, so knowledgeable. He had so much to teach me, and he is so hilarious. Our babies hung out together on set, which was really cool, so now they're going to be friends for life. I would love the chance to work with him again, because I just think he's spectacularly talented and just truly one of a kind. Tony's amazing. I literally can't imagine doing this without him. He's just a true artist, a true visionary through and through. He is so talented. He's an amazing writer. The script was so dynamic, and it didn't really evolve that much from the very first time I read it, which is crazy because that means it was so good just from the beginning. He's very calm. He's very patient, very kind and compassionate, and like supportive. It really felt like a team environment with him around, and he was very vocally affirming. You know what I mean? He made sure to tell you when you were doing a good job, which was really, really great. It's a Western, and it's a heist movie, and it's also a coming of age drama, and also a return home prodigal son story. There's comedy. It's so stylized. It is so there's such a commitment to it's like, I don't know, it's kind of sexy, but also kind of dirty. It's just so many things all wrapped into one. It's an amalgamation of its influences. It's got a spectacular cast and a lot of people stepping into roles that are unlike anything that they've ever done before. And there's a big secret through the whole movie that you're in on when you're watching, which is super, super cool at the end. It's awesome. It's the best movie ever.
I was really attracted to, one, Tony's writing. He's an incredible writer, and I was really excited to work with him. And Penny Jo herself, she has so many big dreams and things that she wants to do, and she's stuck in a small town, and I really felt for her, and I loved her journey that she went on. Very similar to No Country for Old Men. When I first read the script, I always felt like it was a mixture of a Tarantino film meets a Clint Eastwood film. I play Penny Jo Poplin, and she lives in a small town. She is a waitress at the local diner, and she dreams of being a country singer like Dolly Parton. She has so many country idols, and she just hopes that she gets out and she can live a bigger life than what she's living, because she knows there's more out there than what is currently in front of her. And she has a hard relationship with her mother, who always puts her down and doesn't listen to her, because the way she talks kind of separates her from her friends and the rest of the world. And the only way that she feels confident and free is when she sings. It's been amazing working with Halsey. She and I have been really good friends for a couple of years now, and so being able to work with someone who's your fellow friend and one of her first projects is so amazing to watch her grow and just jump into. I love working with Paul. He is such an incredible actor. When you're in a scene with him, everything else just disappears around you, and it just comes to life, and it feels so real and so natural, and I really hope I get to work with him again. I'm so happy I got to have a few more scenes with Eric in this movie, because I had a few scenes in Euphoria with him, and so being able to work with him, different kind of characters, was a lot of fun, and he's awesome. Working with Tony Tost is a dream. I am so happy that I'm getting to be involved in his first directorial debut. And so being able to be a part of this dream coming to life is always such an amazing feeling on our side too. And he has everything so precise, and he is so in love with these characters, and he's lived with them for so long. So he knows exactly what he wants, and it's amazing working with a director like that.